the four-way test.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay, Creighton, you're on.
Okay, let's go ahead and start with America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful.
Wait.
Okay, there we go.
Are you good?
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on me, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet, who served in passion stress, a thoroughfare of freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God bend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Turn them over.
On the verse.
Third verse.
Third verse.
Edelweiss, Edelweiss, every morning greet me, small and white, clean and bright. You look happy to me. Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, that's my homeland forever.
One more time.
Suggest some music if you like.
Tom? Tom? Can you come up here, please? Tom? Aha. For your year of dedicated service to Monticello Rotary.
My own private little.
Your own gavel. Yep.
Or mallet, depending on what they
Thank you.
Fortunately, it's a test.
It's a Kodak moment.
There you go. Thank you.
I'm going to pass around the program guide, check your address guide, and committee guide for you to all sign up if you're not signed up, please. And if you don't write your name down, Tina and I'll fill that in for you. We'll take care of the blame. Pardon me? Multiple times, I'm sure, yes. Let's see, the podium has been found. Oh, Tom Osborne, I don't know, how did you find out Rick had it?
I got the email that said Rick had it.
Oh. Okay, well, Rick has it, and I'll pick it up after our meeting today.
It doesn't look very good, just saying, it's pretty rough.
Is it pretty rough? Well, we'll see what we can do between now and then.
Any carpenters in the room? Any carpenters?
There you go. Hey Kathy,
Yes,
how about if I pick it up and refurbish it? Look at it?
if you'd like to, that's fine. It's in his office.
Okay,
Okay.
Work it over.
work it over.
Happy dollars. Is anybody happy today?
I am.
I have $1. My guests today are our daughter Holly and her husband Gary. They're here from North Dakota, and they're going home today. So they came to see Grandma.
Jan's got $1.
I did. The chamber did our first ever discount chamber buck promotion last week. We sold almost $4,000 in chamber bucks in one day. And as we all know, those are bucks that can only be spent here in Monticello. Typically, we think 2/3 of every dollar spent stays local. It's reinvested through services that business purchases, through employee payroll, etc. So for any of you that bought, because I wasn't there the whole time, thank you. I know Mercy Care, or I'm not sure.
Me.
You personally, thank you, Sue, for buying. I have a few left. So if anybody's still interested, you pay 20 and you get 5/3. Call me at the office this afternoon.
What business sponsored that? I don't remember. Or is it business,
Family
right?
Chiropractic, Dr. Emily Raker.
So she makes up the difference?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yep, thanks, good question. So,
Any other $100?
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. John is happy.
John's happy?
Yeah, I'll put $1 in for him.
Okay, what are you happy about, John?
I was kind of teasing, but yeah, I'm happy for just being alive.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh,
Okay, so
Brad, you're getting quarters.
no, I don't have to sing, all right?
No, you're not, no singing, no singing, no singing. Any other happy dollars? Guess we're not very happy today.
See if I've got another quarter for you for trivia.
All right,
I'm trying to get rid of them all.
I think we put 5 quarters in there. You gave me, I think you gave me
Birthdays
4 and I
and
put in.
anniversaries, Tina?
We don't have any.
It's all good.
Okay. Question of the day.
No, I looked for it.
Question of the day.
Well, I made this up about 2 minutes before I got here, so this is gonna be an easy one today. What is the largest state east of the Mississippi? A, Texas, B, Florida, C, Pennsylvania, D, Georgia, or E, Michigan? A, Texas?
Geographically speaking?
East.
East.
Mississippi.
Yeah, but.
No, but
Square miles.
you mean population or
No,
square
no,
miles?
square miles.
Okay,
Including inland water.
thank you, Brad.
Okay. Who votes for Texas? That's A.
No.
B, Florida.
I'll go with that one.
C, Pennsylvania.
That sounds right to me.
D, Georgia. Or E, Michigan. Well, I don't know about the inland water part, but it's D, Georgia.
Oh, there you go. So, we're doing water. Well, you know what? You're small. Save me a quarter. You must have been listening in geography.
Jerry?
I don't think I took it.
I don't even know what that is. Did Francis?
You either have it.
I'm going to pass around 2 things today. One is the club budget from January 1st, 1992. And at that time we had $7,000 in the account, but you can see how much our dues were, etc. And that it's just kind of a breakdown. The second thing I'll pass around is this is February 2010. This particular day we showed new members. This is our newsletter for the day, for the month. New members: Brian Lovin, Rick Meyer, and Don Runyon. And Don was in town for all of about a year, a little over. Also on the second page is a picture of a couple of Rotarians and a Rotarian's wife. Louis Morf received his Paul Harris Fellow.
Cool.
Diana Stadmiller received hers. And Albert McNeil received his Paul Harris Fellow. And the story on Albert McNeil's Paul Harris Fellow was that the club entered. We paid money in, $5 per member, and we drew out a hat, and Monticello Rotary Club won. The toughest job we had was to decide who we were going to give that Paul Harris Fellow to. and we chose to give it to Albert McNeil at that time. I believe this is.
Okay, Brian, you look so young.
This is a little bit about the meeting that was held on July 18th, 1966. So how many years is that? About 54 years, something like that. The speaker of that day, the president was Jack Knopp. Cliff Weirs was in charge of the program and presented Paul Elmgren, manager of the local airport. He gave a very interesting talk about the aviation. Now Dave's not on the board yet. This is pre-Dave being on the board. When did you go on the board?
1988.
1988, so this is 22 years later, earlier. Anyhow, Paul talked about, was the meeting the week before, he talked about the airport and so forth, and how it was going to bring business, expand Monticello, furnish services. He would provide services here, provide recreation, and also provide entertainment for the Monticello community. He also indicated that the average age of those learning to fly was 31. He mentioned that the national trend has been that they've been seeing is the doubling of the number of aircrafts in the United States over the last 10 years. He also indicated that they had just extended the runway from 2,860 feet to 3,400 feet. Dave, do you know how long it is now? Tom, do you? 4,400 feet. So as the planes get bigger and faster, they needed longer runways. So.
I am still looking for board member volunteers. Our board is lacking a couple names, so if any of you feel so moved, please let me know. And I tell you what the July 20th program is, but I don't have a good one. Great.
My daughter will be coming to talk about a program that she started, or a group that she started, and it's interesting.
Okay, fine. Creighton will have a program then next week. I guess we're down to our guest speaker. Jan, you want to introduce him?
Easy.
Many of you know our speaker today. I'm not sure if you know that John and I graduated from high school together, so I could stand here for quite a while and tell some stories.
Maybe that should be the program.
But I know you want to hear John. I know you want to hear John speak. John Harms, our general, for those of you who are visiting, John has been for 26 years, did I get the number right, or 27? Somewhere in there, the general manager of our great Jones County Fair, and it is world renowned. And I'll let John talk about that. Thanks to his tutelage, he was on the board and board president in 2003, right, of the Association of Iowa Fairs, and our fair has won many awards. So have you been here for it? Well, come back for it next year. Right? And with that, John, I'll let you take the floor.
Thank you. You come this year too, we're gonna have one. I kind of forgot that I was to come in here today, and thus the more casual appearance. I was coming out of the fairgrounds, and I saw Tom go by in his white truck, and that didn't dawn on me. And then I was heading out of town, and I saw Dave, you coming off from your office, and that still didn't dawn on me. And so I got out pretty close to Crummick Motors, and I'm thinking, God, this is Monday. Okay. So I went back and got some inventory here to give away a bit, and no script, all from the cuff. Little background on last year, I guess. First, we're coming out of a substandard year as we entered into the COVID thing. For some reason or other, if you have to ear tag what happened last year to one thing other than the heat and the weather, Hootie and the Blowfish didn't sell for some reason. There was about 45 dates on the schedule, and we were the poorest performing date on the entire place. Everybody sold out but us. And so if you take the number of tickets that we were short and add to the gate admissions revenues that would have come from that, we'd have probably broken even for the year, but we fell short. So that was a disappointment, and for those of you that went to the show, one of the best productions we've ever had in our 168 years. So I was really disappointed in that for whatever reason. So then we round the calendar, we get into the COVID thing. We had already started selling Zach Brown band tickets. Then he decided that he was going to cancel his entire tour. He was the first national recording artist to do that for the most part, and he made a bold step and canceled his entire year all the way through 2020. That was a big eye-opener for lots of people in the industry, and he was actually kind of shunned for a period of time because everyone thought he was pulling the trigger way too fast and was out of line for doing that. And some of the other artists were just kind of backing into their schedules by a month or so, but nobody took that bold of step. And his recommendation or his requirement at that point was everybody gets all of their money back. So we went through an automatic refund of everything. There wasn't an option to postpone and roll into next year and any of those kinds of things that are going on now. But he made a pretty crazy move to do that. As it turns out, he probably is one of the smarter guys on the planet, and had everybody done that at that point in time, maybe we wouldn't be exactly where we're at right now. But we went stumbling through the spring trying to decide what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, and if in fact we were going to have a fair, and if we were, how was it going to look. And the entire industry across the country, across the world that's in the people assembly business had the same kind of drill going on. So it got to a point where it was pretty plain to see that we weren't going to necessarily be forced by our local governments to make the decision for us, and that's what the fair people wanted to have done so that they wouldn't have to blame themselves or be saddled with the decision, hoping that somebody would make that for us. That didn't happen, and that was the best decision. The fair business in general is so unique to everybody's operation. What we do here is so different than what they do in Delaware County and Jackson County and Cedar County. So everybody needed to make that decision on their own accord and for their own business. Our fair business here in Monticello is such that when the entertainment goes away, the thing falls apart pretty quickly. And it was real clear that the entertainment was not going to come, even though they weren't telling us that they weren't going to come. They were forcing us to make that decision. One of the first things that we did is we needed to implement the force majeure clause in all of our contracts with the entertainers, and that basically means that it's an act of God that's going to keep us from hosting them to come. So we had the Jones County Public Health and also Emergency Management on a couple of meetings. Those are virtual meetings at that point in time, and got them to agree that we just couldn't host the fair just the way we did it, with trying to throw 6,000 people down on track and beer in each hand and singing and dancing and all the things that go on down there. It just wasn't conducive to separation of people and crowd sizes and such. So they agreed to do that, and that was our key to send to our entertainers saying, sorry, but we can't do this. And that was really the easy part. Perhaps the biggest challenge that I saw was with our board of directors and trying to get them engaged in the decision. And I needed to come up with some kind of an idea to get them engaged in the decision to make it feel like it wasn't just me telling them we can't have a fair. The other thing you can do is you can draw a line in the sand with an age group. Somewhere between 30 and 35 and under wanted to continue the fair. Above that age group was a little more hesitant and understanding of the fact that the right thing to do is to not do that. So with that in mind, came up with this idea to retool the budget, because at that point in time, Zach Brown was out the window. We had refunded $600 and some thousand worth of tickets that had been sold at that point in time, and had it replaced with, well, we were trying to get it replaced, but we never achieved that. But we were trying to come up with this revised budget and then look at what our board of directors were thinking that we'd have. So I posed two questions to them. One, what do you think is going to be our attendance this year with this assumed concert lineup? And we assume that they're going to show up. So what do you expect the attendance is going to be in terms of a percentage of last year's numbers, or of what we project as being this year's numbers? And then the second part of that would be, how many dollars do you think that this group would be willing to spend? So went through the right down the line and went through the roll of the members again and asked that first question: how many people are going to show up? And we had anywhere from 100% of last year's numbers to 25% of last year's numbers. And we arrived at a number that was, Tom, help me out here.
I don't remember.
It was about 70%, three-fourths.
Yeah.
And that in itself told me that, okay, this decision's over, because you multiply that into the number of dollars from last year, and it just wouldn't work. But the other point was, how many of these people that you're expecting to show up how many dollars would they be willing to spend? So you take those two and you multiply them, and the number we came up with was 59% of last year's numbers that we were going to use for revenue to pay for almost 100% of the expenses, because very little of the expense, because there's so many consistent, constant expense numbers in the fair business, the way we do the fair, that have to happen if anything's going to happen. So if you look at 59% of the revenues to pay for 90 or more percent of the expenses, that showed that if we were not going to have a fair, we were going to project somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 of loss. But if we did try to have the fair, it was going to be closer to 1.5 million. So when you start looking at just the sheer numbers based on their inputs, these were numbers that they were telling me to expect from the standpoint of percentages. What would you rather do? Lose a couple 100,000 or lose $1.5 million? And so then it becomes a no-brainer. And it was as simple as that. It really was. Now there are a lot of fairs that don't have the expense associated with it that we do, of course, with the entertainment that we provide, but it still was something that it was something we had to endure. And again, I wanted this group to know that it was them telling me numbers, not me telling them they shouldn't be having a fair. So as we went through that drill, the thing that was also evident is that we could separate the 4-H and FFA and the youth development, basically things going on in the barns and the things with the static exhibits that the kids make and they work on all year, that could still happen. First of all, it's not as many people. We're not putting all those people down in a small amount of space. But the other thing we could do is take the 5 days and stretch that out to dilute the populations as they would come, and put a species on each day, for instance, or maybe having the smaller number of species of livestock, 1 a.m., 1 p.m., and those kinds of things. So with that in mind, we started rolling with that, and the people that we were telling that we weren't going to have the fair, it's going to be modified, it was going to be postponed, different, however you want to call it, they were pretty receptive, but there was always in the same sentence, but can you still do something for the kids? And so this allowed us to do that. And then as you look at what's going on in the fair business across the country, that concept has been married to pretty well. Most people are doing things with their 4-H and their livestock and the FFA chapters and such. So I can remember being in those groups and being a 4-H'er and an FFA student, and there'd be years where I'd never get out of the barns and I'd never got to Midway. And so I understand there was a real well-defined separation, that the fair didn't necessarily mean tight blue jeans, guitar singing, and that kind of thing up on the stage. And so we could make that separation, and it was comfortable to do. So our 5-day event is turning into a 9-day one. Starts Saturday. It's coming Saturday with a prime steer show, which is not a 4-H and FFA event necessarily. It's not sponsored by the extension programming, nor is the second day, but it does involve some youth. Second day is an open junior horse show. That may be the biggest attended event of the whole time. And then Monday morning, a week from today, we start off with dogs, and again, early morning, the folks will come to town, the students, the 4-H'ers will come to town with their projects, and they'll register them, show them, and be discharged as soon as they're done showing. There'll be a couple days by noon, it'll be done and over and quiet. The general public is not invited to come. Again, it's to everybody's best interest to keep the populations and the groups small. Then we're identifying that by 5 o'clock every day, the park will be open back up for people to come and let their dogs do their thing on the park and leave. And because there are a lot of walkers on the park, and we get that and understand it, and so that's allowed to happen, or will be allowed to happen. The other thing is we'll have a couple of concession folks on the grounds, and that'd be an opportunity for them to also get a little more revenue for setting up shop there. But it's all about keeping distance, first of all. A lot of this stuff will be in the equestrian center, big lid on the grounds. Most of the shows will be in there. And again, we can distance people. There's nice breeze blowing through there even on the hottest, most calm days. And we're able to do that. That's also allowing the tractor cave to function after the fair is over. We're expecting between 400 and 500 tractors to come as part of the WMT WHO annual event. WHO canceled their event, and we got this idea that we should invite them to come because we got facilities to handle it, and so we're going to continue with that. That's a 4-day event, 3 days of riding tractors. And again, you're talking about an ownership of tractor rider age group that's probably 72 to 75 years old. And so it's a very at-risk group, but they're not concerned at this point so much. You can afford to do it. So the thought process of having the public not be invited to the fair is not something you want to go out and advertise, but we will have gate attendance. We're not charging admissions. But we are going to control that while those kids are out there doing their thing, their livestock are on the grounds, that it won't be a free pass-through. And I hope that everybody understands that that is it's a positive thing from a health perspective for everyone, both the kids, the parents, the families, and the people are just coming through and trying to figure out what's going on for the fair this year. So if you see any activity up on the main midway of the park next week, it'll be lawnmower or two, somebody out trimming weeds perhaps, and the walkers after 5. Because our days will start, there's a couple days where we'll actually have attendants out there guarding the gates at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I want to get done and get out before it gets hot. Forecast of that way.
I got one question. You didn't cancel the rain for next week, did you?
Well, no.
I can tell you that other than the start that's supposed to be hot, it'll probably be 78 and no rain and sunny every day.
Yeah, it'll be the best weather ever.
Tell us about the concession.
Chucky's Tenderloin. He also has if you've not had his chicken sandwich, he's not had that here during the fair, but he has a killer chicken sandwich also. So he is going to be here. Matter of fact, he just called me. He was on WHO's and WMT's big show at 10 after 12 today, and so that was going on when we were here.
So if you want a sandwich, you can only get in there after 5. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
okay.
By 5. Our signage is going to say by 5 because there's a couple days where noon, 1 o'clock,
Okay,
we're done and people will come away from the gates and.
so where will he set up? Down by the equestrian center?
Correct.
Okay.
And how many days will he be there?
All of them.
All of them, okay.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get him talked into leaving his stand there and functional, cause he's gonna be there for the tractorcade too.
Right.
Oh, good.
So that week of, from Monday, we're done on the 26th on a Sunday, so from Monday to when the tractors come in on the following Sunday, I told him if he opened up late in the afternoon and functioned through the evening meal, or even the noontime, that he'd probably get some business. He's famous.
Yeah.
The tractorcade will be open to the public?
Tractorcade will be open to the public, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
John, 2 questions. Number 1, do you know, or do you have as a fair, a figure of what an individual spent in a normal year? What I as an individual would spend? I mean, you said during that process, you asked how much would they spend?
Not so much about how much per person, because first of all, we don't take attendance, so
Okay.
that's a guess.
Okay.
You can guess, but our budget has been over $4 million for a number of years, up to 4.3 at the high time. But we're 4.1 to 4.3 most normal kinds of years, and so.
And then secondly, the equestrian center is still available for rent and use right now, right? I mean,
Yes,
you don't have, someone had thought the equestrian center was closed. Do you want to talk about that for a
I
minute?
don't know where people get those
I
kinds
know.
of things, but we had a wedding and reception in there Friday, and
Yep.
booked another one this morning.
So just contact your office if somebody
Yep.
wants it.
Yeah,
Got it.
It's a good facility because it's a large roof,
Mm-hmm.
and there's air going through there all the time.
Yep.
And we got good facilities for toilets and kitchen facilities and stuff in there too. So.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's all about keeping people separated, get them in fresh air, and in and out. No overnight. There won't be any livestock overnight at all. There'll be a couple of managerial campers that will be there the whole time, just watching over things because it will be open. So, anybody have any other questions? It's going to be a different year for sure. Well, I have.
Not to break with tradition.
Yeah, I had to hustle this deal. I had to run back into town, get those, and I just scratched a couple of. Okay, so one thing that we did do is when we made our announcement that we were going to cancel or postpone or modify the fair for this year, that decision was made prior to Memorial Weekend. But I wanted to wait for about a week and a half after the decision, get after Memorial Weekend to make the public announcement, because first of all, I need to have time to contact our partners that help us with the fair and concessions people and all of that. But I also didn't want to have a family beginning of the summer weekend be filled with the discussion that the Great Jones County Fair has been canceled. Didn't want to do that. So that announcement was delayed till after the Memorial Weekend. But in the process of doing all of this and canceling what had to be canceled, postponing what had to be postponed, and rebooking the entertainment and the free entertainment and the concessions folks and everything that's associated with it, we were able to achieve that, and I wanted to make that announcement prior to the 4th of July weekend. So that same non-buzz for Memorial, I wanted to be a buzz at 4th of July weekend, so they had something positive to talk about. So we had our entire lineup confirmed, and we put that out there in the media in Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, and Dubuque to have something fun for families to talk about during the 4th of July, since a lot of the parades were canceled and all that kind of thing. So with that in mind, in 2021, how many Browns will be in concert?
All of them. All Zacks.
2.
All of them.
0.
Kane Brown, Zach Brown?
Okay.
Keep guessing.
No,
Apparently
that's
don't.
right. That's
Doug,
all right.
Doug's right. That's right. Kane and Zach.
Tell them who both of those people are.
Kane Brown is a newer country act.
he isn't what I call traditional country. He's kind of modern country, almost a little rappy at times. Not rappy like rap, but he speaks some of his lines. And he's with Midland, who is a very traditional country act, which be a good mix. Zach Brown, they've got excellent musicians. That's one thing I'll say about Zach Brown Band. Excellent musicians.
Okay. With that in mind, how many band members are in the Zach Brown Band?
7.
Way to go, Creighton.
Yes.
You guessed good. Okay. Yeah, the thing that's funny is 4 of them all look like they're in the same family, and I don't think so. Otherwise, there'd be more Browns than that going to the fair. Okay. This year's dates. This year, 2020, dates of the Great Jones County Fair are. Close?
22 to the 29th.
No, 22 to 26.
Oh, this year.
20th to the 26th.
The actual days now. Now we're talking about the posted early days.
17th to the 26th.
Really close. Is that 9 days?
22nd to the 29th.
18.
Yeah, no, actually did it.
18th to the.
Audrey?
Way to go, Audrey.
Okay. What is our traditional carnival's name?
Evans.
Bob Evans.
Not Bob. Evans United Show.
It's a restaurant. Bob Evans.
Yeah.
It's actually the Dale Evans Show.
No, not that either.
How many female performers are on stage this year? Next year?
Next year?
There's not a one of them in the pictures.
Why do you ask that question?
Because I noticed they were all men. It's all male.
Every one of those men has a good woman behind him.
Great answer.
Story about Tommy Evans, who owns as a family operation carnival. About the time of the Houston Stock Show and Rodeo, big event in Houston, they were in the middle of their run. They were forced to shut down. Tommy and his group were just a little north of there, also forced to shut down. He was in a big mall in one of the larger towns doing a week-long gig. So he was forced to shut down, and he took his carnival and all of his H-2B workers and went to a county fairgrounds about 150 miles north of Houston to just park. And he offered his workers to the operation there, the fairgrounds there, to just keep them busy and of course pay them. And he was didn't want to send them back to Mexico and figured that he wasn't going to get them back. So he wanted to keep them there, keep them working, so he turned them loose on the fairgrounds with the permission of the fairground management and repaired, painted, all that. And that's a date that he actually plays in October, so he knew this operation really well. And I talked to him somewhere about a month or 6 weeks after that, and he was still employing his H-2B workers. He was just afraid to send them back home because if he ever got back on the road, that he wasn't going to be able to have staff to operate. So he kept paying for them and providing them lodging and keeping them and all that kind of thing. And his hope was to be able to get back into Iowa over the 4th of July. One of his larger dates is the festival up at Clear Lake. And that was canceled. There was a date in Decorah that he plays. That was canceled. Of course, we canceled his operation. Jackson County would be another one, Mississippi Valley. So I had not talked to him for a little while yet, but here's another ripple effect of this whole thing is here's a business that depends on out of H-2B employees because it's tough to get staff to do that kind of work, and he's paying them a good wage and all those kinds of things. But I just feel so sorry for him because it's going to take a lot of these rolling portable carnivals out of the business this year. And so
how many employees he had? 20, 40?
Oh, no, yeah, more than that. He probably had 30, 35, probably, something like that. And good workers, you know, they really were dependable, they'd show up, they could pass drug tests, all those kinds of things, and,
Two vehicles.
so, anyway. Anybody have any other questions? Otherwise I can go.
John,
Yes.
as a thank you
Yeah, thank you.
for being here today, appreciate
Glad
it.
I remember.